Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. I am your host, Drew. Take my hand and let's walk this journey together.
What I'd like to talk about today really comes from my paranoia about death. You know, I mean, we always think about it. It's always on the forefront of our minds, but I think that it really hangs in front of us in a recent event that might show our mortality, a passing of a family member, a friend or whoever, somebody close to us. We start to put it into perspective a little more. I think it just becomes refreshed in our minds that this is a reality of life and that it can happen to anyone of any age, not just a specific age, not being an old person or whatever. But, tragedy does happen. And, about a year ago, I went through a traumatic experience of seeing my father pass away on me from multiple sicknesses. He had a lot of complications with a lot of things. Very unexpected. My father wasn't doing, well health-wise for a while, but, he wasn't, it wasn't like he was, put in a place where he would have been considered, terminal of any sort. So, I mean, dealing with him being sick or have him going in and out of doctors and hospitals was a very common occurrence. He functioned, but what happened in a span of a month really was a shocker. He was having trouble breathing. There were some complications there, and he had to get rushed to the hospital. And from there, they diagnosed him with having leukemia, which was crazy because on top of the fact that, there was no, he's been in and out of doctors a lot, went to blood doctors, and I guess they didn't catch it or however that happened. But he ended up getting diagnosed with it. And it was a shock to him as well. He sat there like, whoa, I mean, I have a lot of other health elements, but I didn't, add cancer onto that. But he was in there and he had infections, and there were a lot of complications along with having the sickness. And, within a month's time, he was put on a ventilator, in and out of being on a ventilator, and he passed away. He had, his body gave out on him. So it kind of was a curveball thrown at us. I guess we became comfortable with the fact that my dad was never healthy and he always had ailments. So it was like we became okay with it, to the extent where, we expected this from him, but he always came back. He had like 9 lives, and he's been down through some tough roads and some tough paths, but it was like, holy shit. Like, oh my God. Like, you expect that. It's weird how you expect these people to be in your lives for a very long time. And when they leave you, especially abruptly, you start to look at, your own mortality, and you look at others around you. And it's very, very scary. I mean, I know for me it was anyways. I had insane anxiety going through this whole process of, obviously letting go of my father and taking him off life support, and just going through that whole experience, and then burying him, and just being in my mind and my thoughts about the whole thing, and just, it being all surreal to me. I was really, really, really fucked up. And I'm one who has anxiety on a normal basis. So for me, I was digging deep into my thoughts and some things that scared me at one point in my life. And now they came back to haunt me a little more in depth because, like I said, it was refreshed in my mind that my father had passed away. Somebody close to me passed away. 8 months prior, my aunt also passed away, who was young as well. So it was just, it was a lot to deal with in 8 months. And then, I mean, obviously then COVID hit as we were burying my father. The restrictions started to come up and they started to quarantine people. So like, it was like grieving, dealing with this new pandemic now, thinking of your own mortality and knowing that this is a deadly disease out in the world that's killing people. It's like, oh, fuck, this is the end of the world. This is it. Like, and it really just like made me get more of my faculties in order and really understand that, I'm not going to be around forever. And sometimes we get caught up in our lives. We get caught up in our life's work. We get caught up in bullshit. We get caught up in nonsense. We get caught up in sleeping. We're burning daylight. We're just giving away our time. Our time is very valuable and short, and we take it for granted. And that's something that we all do. So for me, having to, this is about a year ago almost, I had to really like do some digging in my mind and really say, Andrew, like, this is where you're at. This is what's going on. These are the people around you. What are you going to do? Like, is this going to be your life? At the time, you're 30, I'm 36 years old. When you're in your 20s, you think you'll figure it out by the time you're in your 30s, and then you don't. And now you're in your 30s and you're like, holy shit. Like, next thing you know, it's going to be my 40s, and next, so on and so forth. And you don't know how long you have left. That's the thing too, right? You don't know how much time you have left on this earth. And it really, kept me up many nights, just being fearful of not waking up. It's crazy, but to think about it, like, you really dig into this understanding of death. Like, how do you come to terms with it? Because it all happens to us individually. It doesn't happen as a group. You don't get to experience death with a group of people. You experience death alone. You experience death however it comes to you. It's not a guaranteed process and it all goes through the same. No, we all go through it in a different way. It happens to us in different manners. An accident or, a sickness or, I mean, anything. We don't know, and it's scary. And, I dealt with that. I deal with it on a daily basis. I really do. I deal with it a lot, and I always think about it. And I always wonder, is it as bad as we think it is? Or is it awesome? When you die, do you say, holy shit, man, I've been waiting for this my whole fucking life. I cannot believe how cool this shit is. I should have did this shit sooner. I should have ended my life. It's fucking crazy, but you really think about it, it's like maybe that's what, I mean, that's what it is. It's this awesome thing that we, living is really suffering. And then when you die, you no longer suffer. You don't suffer anymore. You don't feel pain. Or maybe you feel just you feel joy, and it's a different experience. You leave the pains and ailments of the body and the feelings of the body, and you're removed from it. And I think that's something I always think about. I think about it a lot. I mean, I don't know if any of you think about that as much as I do, because maybe I'm a little crazy, but I mean, let's be honest. It's the one thing we try to evade, we avoid. We don't want to really think about the end. We think about living. We think about all those things. But thinking about living really you should kind of include death in that, in the sense that, what are you doing with your life that when you do pass away, or you do go to wherever you're going, if you're shown the true potential of who you should have been, and then comparatively to the person that you die and the person that you are when you die, it makes you wonder, have you really went up to your full potential? And, it's a good thing. It's a good thought. A good friend of mine mentioned that to me. Like, God's going to show you like the grand deluxe version of you, which you could have achieved. And he's going to show you your life and show you where you ended up versus this person. And that is enough to scare the shit out of a lot of people to say, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go full in and I'm going to be the best version of me that I can be. However that is. And I think that really, I think about that and I've tried to adjust my life. Listen, it's a work in progress, right? Where nobody's going to just, run 8 million miles per hour and make it overnight. It doesn't work that way. You have to put in some time. You have to put in some buffers. You have to change things. You have to change your habits, exercise more, read more books, take control of yourself, take control of your abilities, like learn a skill, fall in love with something and then follow it all the way through. We get so caught up in just going to a job and waiting for Fridays to come, to have happy hour and drinking and spend those weekends doing, Netflix watching or, just wasting away time. And listen, I love watching series. I love playing video games and shit like that. It's fun. But it's a waste of fucking time. It really is. It's a waste of time. And we can channel those same feelings we get from those things onto other things, other important things or other things that will get us somewhere or get us to the life we want. We spend a lot of time just melting away in our hiding place, our safe place. And it doesn't get us anywhere. It's our inner child just pulling attention, saying, I don't want to get up right now, so I'm just going to stay in bed, or I don't want to eat my vegetables. I want to eat this. Yeah. If that were possible, you ate just candy instead of vegetables, or you ate just desserts. Yeah. Your life wouldn't end up too well. So you kind of grew out of that, I hope. So it's the same thing with being an adult or being a grown-up or learning these skills, because you know what? At the end of the day, we don't have a lot of time left on this earth, and we need to facilitate the best version of ourselves for the betterment of everything, for the betterment of our life, to inspire others. Especially if you have a skill, you have something that you can bring to the table that could help somebody else be their best self. You need to give that. It's a sin to keep it. It really is. And in its utmost entirety, it's selfish. We need to reach out more. It's everybody's responsibility. It really is, including myself. Because if I don't contribute, how the hell can I ask anybody else to? And this is the point of this whole thing. I'm a normal person, normal guy. I'm not a millionaire. I aspire to be, wealthy in every facet of it, not just in physical dollars, but in knowledge and in the abilities to help others around me. I want to help people. I think it's great. It makes you feel good. But what are we doing today to facilitate that for tomorrow? What have we done today? You can't live on a thought. Thoughts are great. Brainstorming's great. It's amazing. But it has to be a plan of execution. We have to plan. We have to plan what we're going to do. And it doesn't mean you have to have this grand scheme. It doesn't mean you have to have this whole book of things that you're going to do. It doesn't. Start small. Smaller steps into bigger steps, and bigger steps into bigger ones. You have to try a little bit every day. And you'll see that as you progress, you're going to be able to take on more tasks. And the things that you thought were small, and the things that you thought were big, are actually will become smaller because you're training yourself to do more. And you're going to feel great about yourself. And it's going to make you want to do other things. You're going to be more active. You're going to want to work out. You're going to want to better your body. You're going to want to eat better. And like I said, this is a work in progress. No crash diets. No 10-day workouts. No. Take on a workload that is reasonable. Something smaller. Journal your thoughts. Spend some time utilizing what has been given to you, what you've been born with, and what you've developed. Use your skill set for things. There's a lot of great stuff out there. We have the internet, all these applications and All these platforms have grown because there are people that have decided to make a choice and become something. You know, if you love video games, that's fine. They're a waste of fucking time. But if you can scale that into a business, or you can contribute maybe your expertise on the video game into the online space where you're sharing your content, guess what? You're contributing, and that's great. Do that. Anything you love, find a way to scale it into something. Contribute. Bring it out there. Because if that's what you love to do, there's a way around it now. It's, yesterday's mentality of what is worthwhile and what is not I was out the door. Like, we live in an age where we're informed. There's information online. You have the internet. You have a cell phone. You have a tablet. There's a gazillion ways you can get information. So you can't be ignorant to the fact that there aren't ways to do things in life, because you do have this information at your fingertips and you could ask questions. There's tons of people that are contributors that are willing to help you. They don't get paid. They literally put this information out for free. That's their purpose as well. And you could be part of that community to help somebody else. So where does this all come in? Where does this all tie into death, right? Well, like I said before, I personally think that we all have a purpose on this earth. And as we've evolved as human beings, we made ourselves less accessible to each other because we've allowed all this extra stuff to get in the way of us being human beings. You know, we have all these gadgets and we have all these things that we can just bury our heads in. You know, we're not hunters and gatherers anymore. You know, we go to the grocery store. There's food sitting on the shelves that we're never going to eat. That's going to go into the garbage. It's there for our convenience. We live better than kings did centuries and centuries ago, thousands of years ago. Even at our worst, we are living better than most people. So with that being said, it says a lot about us as human beings, right? We have to actually kind of dial ourselves back, because we'll fully submerge ourselves in a lot of these distractions and a lot of this crap. And before you know it, guess what? You're on your deathbed. Or if you're lucky, you get to actually, be old enough to be on your deathbed. In the nicest form, not in a horrible form where you're suffering, but in the sense where you actually made it that far. But I guarantee you that if you are going to reflect on your life and see that you didn't do anything that you wanted to do or you went after because you were just so caught up in your quote unquote life, well, death comes and death just takes you out. It takes you out. Doesn't matter if you have a meeting tomorrow, you have to go meet your wife for dinner in a half an hour. It just comes and it takes you. So you just got to keep that in mind, that just live your life as if tomorrow is never going to be guaranteed to you. But that does not mean YOLO vacations. Doesn't mean go buy that $500,000 house that you can't afford. It doesn't mean go buy that car. It means make your time, make your mark. Make this time count. You can have fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun, but do your work. Do what you wanted to do. A lot of us as children are the best entrepreneurs, because they have something in mind that they want to do and they'll do it all day long. They don't expect pay. They don't expect nothing from it. They just do it. And I guess and a lot of us lost that as we were forced to grow up and be adults and get jobs. But in reality, that's completely wrong. Having that mindset to do something and do it with your heart will get you a lot of places. It'll make you plenty of money. And we need to reflect back on that and remember, we're never going to be young forever. We're never going to be as healthy as we are per se. There's no guarantees on any of that stuff. And I think that is very important that we wake up and live our lives to the fullest in every facet of that word, to the fullest. Let's really try. Let's really, 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 really try to be better. And if you're hearing this for the first time, that's fine. I'm sure you're going to see a million different speakers online talking about, be better and do better. And listen, maybe it's just, this is going to fall on deaf ears. But I really want you to, if you could extract one piece out of this, just extract one. Maybe it'll be on my podcast. Maybe it won't be on my podcast. Maybe sometimes you have to hear it enough times. Maybe it has to strike home for you. Maybe my subject matter will strike home for you. Maybe I'll help one person. This is me doing my part and waking up and putting my energy out there and putting my word out there and trying to reach others out there. I'm not getting paid right now to do this, but I have a need for this. It's therapeutic to me, but it's also going to reach out to somebody else. Somebody else is going to hear this, I think. And if I can help one person, if I can wake up one person, then honestly, I could seriously die happy tomorrow. That's how I feel. But please, you cannot close your eyes and wait for whatever it is you're waiting for. Just stop that. Let's stop dreading Mondays. Like who created this institution of the work week, the 9-to-5 work week, and then Mondays are so hard because you partied so hard on the weekends. Like you can change that. Your life Mondays could be amazing for you. It's really just up to you to change that. It really is. I'm sure a lot of you are out there probably listening saying, I'm in a really tough spot. I have a lot of things going on in my life. I have wife and kids. And listen, we all have different starting points. But unfortunately, we can either accept our misery. If we are miserable, we are strung up and we're caught up in so much stuff in our lives, that could be your life forever. And you could be miserable because you want to change, but you won't. Or you can actually make that move in the other direction, which is going to be a gauntlet. It's going to be hard, but you're eventually going to get out of it, and life is going to be better for you. That's up to you. I can't make you do that. Nobody can make me do what I'm doing. I've come to that realization. I can accept my life and wait for it to happen, and I'll tell you, it's not going to happen. There'll be another job and another job and another job or another whatever. And we'll just live our lives and just be casualties. It's completely up to us. And I really think that if you take advantage of what I'm saying, or if you just do a broad Google search of the things that I'm talking about, I'm not the only one talking about it. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm taking from others that have already said these things. And maybe I'm trying to make it a little more palatable, or maybe add some relatable content into it, talking about my father. A side note, talking about death. My father grew up with nothing. He had a really tough life. He really did. Really, really tough one. But unfortunately for my father, he never let go. He never let go of his past. He never let go of his traumas. He got married, he had kids, but he never changed, and he was never willing to change. He was an ignorant person in a lot of ways. And I didn't have a great relationship with him because of that. But I look at his life and I look at how it ended up for him, and he could have changed that. It was all up to him. It really was. But he never wanted to accept it. He never did. And he became a tragedy. Because when my father passed away, when he died, he left some good stories behind. He left some good things. But I guarantee you that the potential person that he could have been, and what he was shown at time of his death or whenever he met his maker, he fell short. And that's one of the biggest things that I take away from that, is that I'm not going to live forever. And I got to get rid of some of the stupidity that I thought in my head, or I grew up with, or I was raised on. I got to erase all that too. I got a lot of work to do myself. But I want to make a plan to move forward. And I want everybody else to make a plan to move forward as well. So what I'm asking you to do is just to start small. Just start small and really, really, really do some soul searching. Write some things down. Write some things you want to do. Write some places you want to go. Write some things down for people that you want to meet. You know, there's great people. Books you want to read. Anything that strikes your interest. Write it all down. You know, take some inventory of your life. Look at the people around you, the friends that you have. Things that are maybe feel a drag to you, things that you don't like about your life. Write all those things down. I want you to write everything down. I want you to write it all down. Visualize it. Because we see it in our head. It's like cluttered information, right? We have all this clutter in our minds, and we think we have it all. But when you have to sit there and write it all down, there's more than you think, and it's not so pretty. It really isn't. I've written some things down, and I'm like, shit. It's not that pretty up there. But get it out. See it. Get rid of the things that you don't need. And then hold on to the things that are good. And then build on those things. And then make objectives. Each week you're going to do a little thing, a little task. Nothing big. Something attainable. Something that you can consistently do. But achieve it. See how you feel. Something you had never done before. Something you've never done before. It could be a project. Something you've been putting off. Achieve it. See how you feel. I guarantee you that once you do that, you're going to look at everything else that you put off and you're like, wow, it's been like a decade. It's been longer, maybe 30 years. Who knows? I mean, I hope my listeners are of all ages. But yeah, like, wow, why did I wait so long for that? And then you're going to be like, you know what? I got some other things I need to take care of. And then Netflix is not going to look so appealing to you. Sitting down and sleeping or whatever you do, or whatever you waste your time doing is not going to be so appealing anymore. And you're going to start to wake up. And then you're going to start to do more things. And you're going to wake up more. And then you're going to be more driven. And you're going to start to do things you never thought you would do in the good way. You might stop drinking coffee. You might not even need it. You'll be so energized by the tasks that you have that you'll just be joyous. It'll just give you joy because we have everything we need inside. We don't need a vacation. We don't. It's all in here. We lost it somewhere along the way. So we found things to make us cope. But we don't need that. We just need ourselves. You know, you have a family, you have a loving family, embrace them. But you can also slowly help change them as well. And you guys as a unit could be bigger and better. That's really all I had to say today. I really hope that what I said to you kind of made sense and hit home. It's a blessed day to be alive. And I hope all of you are doing well and that you don't have any tragedies or been faced with anything terrible. I hope that, you live, over 100 years and make it that far. But I also want you to be proud of that 100 years you spent on Earth and that you did some really kick-ass stuff, because I know deep down inside, we have a lot of rock stars waiting to just shred on that stage. Please, please, please don't wait until somebody around you dies or you get sick or something happens to you to really reflect and say, wow, I only have a short period of time. I have to get everything done. Fuck that. Do it now. Do it now. Thank you guys for listening. And I will see you. You'll hear from me in another episode. Be well.